Mr. Hurst, I'm going to ask you a question, be a little bit more directed with you because it comes from one of our audience members. And this audience member says, and I want to echo this because I think that everything that Jacob says is right. Jacob is, a Yale professor. And, oh,
Cold-blooded.
that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I lecture at Harvard. That's a great thing. But I think that at the end of the day, people still want to know, can I get a job?
Yeah.
And how do I get a job now? And so one of our members from the audience said, undoubtedly, Connecticut cities are hurting. And I am always saddened when I see abandoned factories and derelict housing. What very specific suggestions can you make for the type of business or manufacturing enterprises that will bring jobs to the unemployed and make good use of these factories and other things that are going on?
Well, let me reiterate a point I made earlier. I think there's been a shift in Connecticut from a manufacturing-driven economy to a service, knowledge, information-driven economy. And you can't change that because, a lot of low-cost, low-value-added jobs have been shifted overseas. But what you can do here is, I agree with you like 200%. When we think about jobs in this state and this country, we tend to focus on large businesses instead of small business. Small business, if you look at the statistics, is the engine for job creation, not only in this state but in this country. But we don't do enough to support small business. Businessmen, entrepreneurs, they need a lot of things. They would all like, no regulation, no taxes, low health care costs. But the one thing entrepreneurs need is access to patient capital.
Yeah.
And the one thing that we don't do in this state is we don't provide entrepreneurs with access to patient capital. If you're starting a business, you can't come to a bank and expect to get a loan because it doesn't make sense for you or the bank. But if we had, one concrete solution I would suggest, if we had a professionally managed venture fund in this state that had, $200 or $300 million that was focused just on, supporting and creating, companies that were going to start here in Connecticut, that would go a long way toward job creation. The other thing you need, because you need employers that are looking at, to expand their workforce. The other thing you need, the employees that show up have to have the skills that the employers want. In my business, for example, you got to be able to read, write, have math skills, think critically. If you can't do that, then I can't find a place for you. So there has to be that marriage of a company that needs to expand their workforce and hopefully a new company that we're nurturing and people that are showing up that have the skills that that company needs. If not, we're just kidding ourselves.
Well, we are quickly reaching the end of our time together. And Nina is getting very sad that she will be leaving to go back to Neptune. But I don't know, I think I may go up and get some of my other friends and relatives to come back because this American dream thing sounds pretty interesting. Sounds pretty good. Even though I heard a whole lot of things that make me sad. And I'm not quite sure that this equality of opportunity that we started talking about is really something that everyone is getting, at least by listening to what you guys have said. But for Nina, at least, I do think that there's hope. And I'm wondering if each of you could tell us as we go about our way and being engaged in this democracy and remembering, as Archibald McClesh always said, democracy is not a thing that is done, but it is something that a nation must always be doing. What is it that you think gives you hope that we will be able to reclaim the American dream? You can all give me an answer in 1 minute. Or I would really appreciate it. And I'm going to start right here because I know that Mr. Hurst can give me a 1 minute.
Well, I think that a couple of things give me hope. Fundamentally, I think the American value system is built on optimism and innovation. We're facing some very difficult times now. People are scared. A couple of wars and a big tax cut to do that, and not regulating investment banks, and so that'll do that. But I have hope that maybe things have gotten bad enough that our folks in Washington, our folks here in Hartford will start having adult conversations to deal with the very serious problems we have instead of the superficial soundbite approach to the problems, because that's not going to solve it. I think that if we have adult conversations in Washington and here in Hartford, and if we realize that there are more things that unite this country than separate us, there's potential.
Dr. Nunes.
Oh, I'm so full of hope because of the program I described. Because my faculty that set the standards, when I described the program, got right behind it because they do believe in access and that is fundamentally important for public higher education. Every staff member got behind it. They ask me, they ask the students how they're doing. The president who replaced the president of the community college, who is new, he was at the very first meeting right there at the table. I didn't have to pitch it to him. I didn't have to convince him. The maintainers asked me how the students are doing. There's such a belief in those students, in that cohort. As I said, they're juniors now. People are so vested in their success, and that gives me hope that it's not Elsa with an idea and I'm sort of just pitching it and selling it, that people believe that a great American democracy with strong public higher education can be accessible to everyone, and that people coming together, a community college, a four-year college, two faculties, two systems, can make it work.
Mayor, to that.
Nina Neptune. Our city is named the House of Hope. It was established 375 years ago by Thomas Hooker, who came here and started what were the beginnings of democracy. The idea that there could be separation of church and state, the idea that the community could participate in the politics of its community, the idea that if need be, they can use their force to hide a charter in a tree to protect the liberties of a democracy. So we have a long tradition of that. We just need to continue to work a lot harder. Come back and see us 10 years from now. We continue to work on it. One of the things that I have found out that still has not evaporated is that appeal that you can make to other individuals, to the human spirit, that you can actually look people in the eye and say, we can get this together, but it's going to take both of us. It's going to take goodwill and a belief that things can get better because there is hope.
Professor Hack.
Well, I mean, honestly, conversations like this give me hope. What Corey is doing gives me hope. I mean, I'm always struck when I go around and talk about these issues with people. Okay, usually outside of Washington, I have this feeling. But even in Washington, I'm always struck by the extent to which there really are a set of common values, but fierce disagreement about how to understand them and how they should fit together. And that's what gives me hope. I mean, Americans give me hope. What also gives me hope, and I guess it's just a deeper answer to that deeper form of that same answer, is our history. And we have faced great challenges before, overcome great challenges before. We're the oldest constitutional democracy. We overcame the scar of slavery. We overcame the oppression of women's subjugation. We, conquered space. This is a country that has risen to so many challenges before, and we face some challenges today. In many ways, I think we're better prepared. We have a more educated citizenry. We're a very innovative society. So we're diverse, and I think we have a lot of strength in that diversity. So those things give me hope. And I think that gets back to what I said at the very beginning when we were talking, is that it's possible to be full of hope and realistic. I may be a cautious pessimist or a cautious optimist. Sometimes I oscillate between the two, but there's nothing wrong with being hopeful at the same time as one is sobered by the challenges we face. So, because that's, to me, the reality is that we're stronger and better when we confront the problems that are in our future.
Hope is an irrational emotion, and this country was built on irrational people. And there's a guy I have thousands and thousands of residents that give me hope every day because they show me in Newark how irrational they are. Pick one. There's a guy in Newark lives in a high-rise building, got a stimulus check in the mail, and unlike many of us, stimulus check, great, let me go out and buy an Xbox 360. He went to Home Depot, bought a lawnmower and a weed whacker, retired government worker, sees this overgrown lot next to his high-rise that was being used by drug dealers, goes right into that lot, mows the lot, bags up the stuff, goes around. Drug dealers are upset because he accidentally bagged some of their stash. They rip over but he goes back another day, makes this lot look beautiful, and the drug dealers end up leaving. Became a hero in the neighborhood. We found him because he didn't stop there. He took his lawnmower in the median of one of our big parks and was just mowing the median. He wasn't being taken care of. And like, who is this insane guy? We stopped him. Who are you? You're a government worker? He says, no. You're a city worker? No. Who are you? And he just says, I'm a person that believes that this is my country. And I'm not going to wait for an organization. I'm going to take responsibility right now because there's something that I can do to make a difference. And that's the thing. If we do the same things we did last year, we're going to get the same results this year. And we're going to wonder why people aren't doing things better, why the world isn't different. We're so stuck in this state of sedentary agitation. I was telling Jacob, and I'll end here on back behind stage, I was in law school. I'm a busy law student. And somebody comes up to me and says, why don't you join this mentoring program? Did you know there's tens of thousands of kids right now in America waiting for a mentor? If you're a mentor, give up 4 hours a week from watching Dancing with the Stars or whatever. Give up your favorite show. 4 hours a month, that's all it takes, to be a mentor. 4 hours a month, and mentor-mentee relationships are transformative. My mentee, when I was living in Connecticut, transformed my life. But for the kids, that shows dramatically lower rates of early sexual activity, dramatically lower rates of crime, violent criminality, up rates of education. Why don't we do it? We have the time in America. So this is a gift to me tonight. I have hope tonight like I didn't before because I hadn't seen my little brother from Yale in like 8 years, and he's sitting here in the audience, and he came here, and I just reconnected. Tavon Green, stand up. So you all are giving me hope. It's great to see an old friend and see how well he's doing. We can all make a difference in each other's lives in ways we don't understand, but we have to be willing to be a little different. We weren't born to fit in, we were born to stand out. We have to be willing to be a little different, go against the grain, do things that are unexpected of us, and then we will get unexpected results.
Well, incredible conversation and a dialogue about issues that really affect all of our lives. And the biggest thing that gives me hope is that we have an organization like CAHS who takes it upon themselves day in and day out with very, very little fanfare to do the hard work of working with people who, quite frankly, many of us have given up on. And so they give me hope that they took the time and put this together and brought us all here today, and that they just plan to roll up their sleeves and go out tomorrow and do what they've been doing for 100 years.